Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Sunday Morning Conversation. Uh, my guest today, he's known by a lot of names, but you can call him Dr. Harvey Gayer, Don E. Watts, Slayer. He's a clinical psychologist, and he's also a coach at Tri-Coast, Georgia, and he also has an electrolyte brand called SlayRX. So, yeah, we have a good conversation today, and I hope you all enjoy it, and thanks for tuning in. How's it going, amigo?
All right, man. I appreciate it. Great meeting you.
Yeah. What do you prefer to be called?
Whatever's good. I mean, some people call me Slayer, some people call me Slay, some people call me asshole, jerk off.
Oh, okay. It just depends if you're in traffic or not, right?
Well, yeah, it all depends on a lot of things, man. That's psychology for you.
Yeah, I got one of those degrees. I don't use it for anything though.
It's worthless.
Pretty much. I mean, I think they told me you'll be able to figure out other people somewhat, but you're never going to figure out yourself, which is like, that's why I'm here, man.
That's it. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
A refund. I want a refund.
Yeah. So, I mean, well, how did you get the nickname Slayer? Like, because, Facebook, you're Don. Professionally, you're Harvey. And so, like, how did they all originate?
Yeah, that's good stuff there. Actually, it was a guy named Ben Holiday. You may know Ben from Atlanta.
Yeah, he's like 20.
Oh, actually, he's like an older guy. He's like my age.
Holiday. Oh, I'm thinking Holiday, like the kid. Yeah, okay, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, but anyhow, Ben, he's a wonderful man, and we were old buddies, and back in the heyday for us, endurance concepts, and he was one of the team members, and I was too, and I just came past him on a race at John Tanner or somewhere, came flying by either on the bike or on the run, and he was just like, Slayer, and he screamed it at me. You just slayed me or something, and it just stuck.
Oh,
It's
wow.
fun.
That's
Yeah,
nice.
I mean, out of all the nicknames to have, it was one that you didn't mind too much.
Yeah. I mean, it's a pretty good one. I was thinking it came from was it the eight? It's not an '80s band, night. No, it was later than that. I thought it came from the band.
Yeah, the funny thing, yeah,
That's where this
yeah,
came from.
right. It's funny because I never listened to Slayer, and everybody's expecting me, like they'll send me like a live cut of Rain and Blood or something, and they're like, check this out, and Slayer, like as if I'm one of the best fans of Slayer of all time. But no, I was a Grateful Dead head, and that's where I spent one of my last obsessions was back in I guess the 80s and the early 90s.
There's actually a podcast on that. It's a collaboration between two guys. It's a cross between a true crime podcast and a Deadhead podcast, where it was solving this murder.
From a dead, like the deadhead was part of the murder.
Yeah.
Huh.
I can't remember what it's called, but let's see.
That's all right. We could Google it afterwards.
You remember the guy who you ever hear the podcast Up and Vanished about the girl from South Georgia?
Yes.
Okay. So that guy collaborated with the guy who does Disgraceland. He's a really big music guy, and he knows he's younger guy, but he knows music really well. So they collaborated to do a true crime podcast on this solving a murder of a guy of people who died related to a Grateful Dead concert. So
wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember like stuff like that would happen. You'd be at a show and you'd hear the next day, because of course back then we would do series of shows. So you'd get like 3 shows at the Omni, or, it wouldn't just be one night. It would always be a set of shows. So then something happened the first night and you were nervous about the second night or whatever it was.
So you got your triathlon start probably around 2010 or so? Am I right?
I think I did my first one probably around 2008, and like I said, I hired a guy out of Atlanta by Andrew Shanks, and he was EC, and then he moved over to Dynamo, and now he's out in the Northwest, and he helped me find my way, man. I was just trying to move along as quick as I could, so it was good.
Yeah, I've seen your list of accomplishments on your website. I've been on your website over the years off and on because I've debated getting a coach or not. I just haven't ever pulled the trigger on it. But I mean, I've seen you've been in the sport for quite some time, even before it started to gain popularity again.
Yeah, I mean,
How did
it
you
was
find?
just,
How did you find this? You know, what brought you to
yeah.
this? What triggered it?
Well, my story is more out of weight loss than anything. I didn't have any idea. I mean, I was a lard ass before the lard asses were even a thing, you know, like I was heavy. I mean, had kids in the late 90s, early 2000s. And
So you didn't
as,
shed your baby weight then?
no, I just kept gaining them. Man. I was like, I got my waist up to like, I think when I was switching to a 48 waist and I was 300 pounds, I had a bad night. And we went to Sonny's barbecue, and you know those big tall glasses of sweet tea?
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, but you know, at the barbecues, when you get these big clear plastic glasses of sweet tea, and I drank 2 of those down, and I woke up early in the night, probably 11:30 or 12, and I was thinking I was having a heart attack, and I had some insulin pump going boom, 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 and I stood up and I said, I got to do something. So I started walking. I found out around that time everybody was doing Atkins, and I started walking, and I'd walk to the mailbox, and then I'd work my way over to the street sign, and just kept doing it and kept eating on the Atkins plan. And I lost 80 pounds over 6 months walking, and eventually did a 5K. And wow, I was like, you know, you never know what you're doing on the first 5K. And I thought, man, 5K could have been a half marathon back then, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, endurance racing is relative. You know, it depends. Like if this is your first race, a 5K is just like equivalent to a marathon to another person.
Totally. And so it was a battle of weight loss, and you know, and I said, all right, well, I'll do this 5K. Went out with the first group, and the fool does, you know, the fool always, the first 5K, you always line up in the front thinking I'm going to whoop these guys, and you know, looking back, you're like, you had no reason being up front with all the fast runners. And we went out hard on this 5K, and the first guy got lost. And so we're out. I'm looking at my new Garmin. Back then, the Garmins were about this big on your wrist and everything. And I looked down, and it said 4 miles already. And I'm running, and I'm like beyond a 5K. And I'm like, this is wrong. Something's not right. And then he stops, like, you know, and he turns around. And he says, I think we went the wrong way or something. And everybody who had followed him. But, you know, for me, it was impressive because just from my standpoint, it impressed me because I was like, I hung on to the group for like nearly 4 miles. Of course, you know, we had to walk back, and we all came in like, you know, 150th and whatever. But it was just a good thing, and then you know, I enjoyed the horse, feeling like you're walking like you rode a horse for like a whole day, and you know, the next week you go walking funny, and that's how it all starts, right?
Yeah, I mean, I started off with an Olympic, and I did it because I was coaching U.S. Master Swimming for rainbow trout down here in Atlanta, and for
Wow.
2 years, yeah, I came into the sport being a swimmer.
Hmm.
So for 2 years, the triathletes on the team, because you know it's an all-inclusive type team, um, they hounded me about doing a race, and finally said, "Fuck it, I'll do one." Well, that was in July, and it's like, well, I only have a few months left of the season, so I signed up for one in Tallahassee in the middle of October.
Oh,
Ugh. And it turned out to be a
terrible.
really hot day too.
And you still in it too, just like me, man. And that's
Yeah,
funny.
like we know the last 4 months I've been on an eating spree, and I went up 30 pounds, so I have to do something about that because my first race of the season's coming up in Texas 70.3 in April, so I got to get back on that.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think probably what they didn't tell us all was it's like the freshman 15 or whatever is the COVID-19. Everybody thinks it's a virus, but it's really just an excuse to get fat.
Yeah, man, I doubled down on the 19 part.
Yeah, yeah. I don't think you're the only one. Don't worry, man. It's tough too because a lot of folks are getting into you know, they're starting to train again, and now they got to lose weight, and that's maybe not the most ideal scenario. So you have to lose it on the days when you're not training.
Yeah, and I got to stop eating crap too. You know,
Yeah,
that's a
or
problem.
train more, right?
That's the try Joe way. Train,
Yeah,
train as much as possible.
yeah.
But
In fact, I was just on the phone with Try Joe because he's helping us with SlayRX, and um he's he's doing some videos and things. He's trying to get a new career, and I wish him the best, and we're supporting him on that process, because we got that little, I got that hydration and fuel. I'm part owner in that, and so he's going to be doing some stuff, and he's a hell of a dude, man. I know he's been through a lot, but yeah, he tries that.
So he's helping you. So he might be coming on with you then.
Well, he's not coming on. He's working for the firm, but yeah, you know, what he really like to do, from what I understand, is that's a passion of his, is these Try Joe channel and videos and marketing stuff. Brand building. So he wants to do some of that, and we're all about, you know. And Joe's a good dude, man. And I know he rubs some people the wrong way, but for me, he's always been. I've been in his corner and he's been in mine.
Yeah, so when he started going through his problems, right around the beginning of COVID, everything started happening, because that's when I was going through my breakup.
Oh Lord.
Yeah, if you add that, it's like compounding on top of a brain injury. So, you know,
yeah.
But mine was like maybe 2 or 3 months before his. So I was at least back out on my own. I had my new place and everything. And then, she skipped out, and he had the whole place to himself for however long. So I was helping him either move and stuff, and I was trying to keep him training and everything, because we live relatively close to each other, only a couple of miles. We're both in Vinings. So
okay.
I was keeping him going, and then I'm like, you want to come to Miami with me? I'm like, because I know he's a dude who has to race. I'm like, just sign up for Miami. Let's go. I'll drive. So he flew down because he couldn't take the day off. I picked him up, and then I drove us back right after the race. We got back at 1 a.m.
Nice. Oh, for that Miami challenge, or for the Miami
Clash challenge, whatever it is now.
Oh,
right?
that's good. Oh yeah, whatever they're called. But yeah, that's the kind of guy he is, and I hate that, that he feels like there's not as many fans as there could be, but because I'm a big fan, I know you are. So
well, it's funny, right? His YouTube channel, he had it called Triathlon Joe. And I told him one day, I said, you need to change the name of that. You need to make it Try Joe TV.
Yes.
He's like, you're right. He's like, yeah, you got to go with that.
That's good. That is a good idea. I mean, little things like that make all the difference.
Yeah.
So,
and then he had it painted on his Venom too.
All right. What else? So yeah, so he's gonna be doing those videos for us, and yeah, that is a good little sideline. And
your hydration is basically the same kind of product as like Noon, right?
Yeah, so we've got that hydration. We got it in, I guess, Noon. I'm not exactly sure. I know they're in tabs. We're in powder, but
they also have a powder now. Yeah.
Okay, so you got the sugar, and then the light without sugar, with all natural ingredients, and it's made in Atlanta. And we got a fuel, which I guess maybe they started a fuel too, but we've got a fuel that was well researched. And there's a guy named Srikanth, and he's a Ironman and a master's in food science, and he learned all this stuff on himself through 2 or 3 Ironmans at Maryland and Arizona and stuff. So he was testing all this stuff out on himself, and he knows all the science behind it, and he has like 100,000 square feet of food manufacturing. So we've got but the best one is everybody likes the spark plug, which is kind of like a gel without the mushy gushy stuff. They like that spark plug. People use it in a little tube, but the diesel fuel is like that is like the nectar of the gods right there for training and racing. So if you're ever looking for something, we'll send you some, and don't worry about it. We'll get you a trial. But most people I haven't had very many people to tell me that they tried it didn't work out.
Hey, I'm always have to tinker with the machine, Right now it's a little bit out of shape, so
yeah. Well, I mean, he uses the best ingredients and things like that. A lot of people worry about products having chemicals and things, and Srikanth doesn't do anything like that. He's pretty strict about his facility. It's a real deal kind of thing. But that's nice. I wouldn't have known all about. I learned so much about fueling and hydration, and I had the rudimentary thing as a coach. We cover those topics and everything. But when you really got to get into the microscopic analytics about all those supplementation and fueling and how much each individual person needs and how it's affected by heat and humidity and various conditions. It's just been really eye-opening to learn all that, and a nice little thing in your pocket.
I've never really had any major issues with fueling or cramping or anything like that in any of my races. But, mine has been like a concoction of, just because I've never had any failures in that department doesn't mean I'm doing the best thing either,
Well, I mean, there's something to be said for do what works, right? Don't mess with that thing,
Well, straight up, my breakfast is since my ex used to make me banana bread, and
Oh yeah,
best breakfast, right? Because it's straight carbs and potassium. So
no fiber unless she's throwing in some, extra stuff.
yeah, so it's like that was my race morning fuel, and I was like, well,
good.
I'm on my own. I better learn how to make this. I'm like, oh shit, this is actually pretty easy, even for a brain damaged guy.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, you do better than me, man. I had never made a banana bread. I do see her keeping them bananas around till well past their point, though, and that gets
That's
me a
how
little.
they have to be that way to make it. It's something about how the molecular structure of the sugar changes as the banana degrades.
Wow. Yeah, that makes sense, man. So yeah, that's good. I like that idea. Me and my son were just talking. He's got you know about swimming. He's got a swim meet that tomorrow is UGA's celebration day, and his swim meet was supposed to be on the campus at tomorrow afternoon, right during the dog walk and the celebration for the UGA football
Oh
NCAA.
yeah, right.
And so that was tomorrow. So they've switched it to the night, and so he's going to be swimming a 500 free at near 11 o'clock tonight, and that's just going to be so that's me and him. We're having to talk through it about how to eat today, and because he's not used to competing that late at night, and heck, he'd be in bed.
Yeah.
So a lot of caffeine and everything, you're having to rethink all of it just for that kind of swim meet.
I've got that kind of issue when I race in different time zones too.
Yeah, messes you up, man. You want to get up early and get your stuff digested and crapped out if you can. And
yep,
it's just there is a little, but the details add up on you. And I think it's important to recognize that it's not just swim, bike, and run. It's you got to worry about fueling and hydration. You also got to worry about strength training. You got to worry about keeping how about from why you were having me on today, the psychological aspects, that's a huge deal.
Yeah, I definitely say triathlon is 90% mental, 10% physical.
That's funny.
I mean, you can finish any race as long as you do the training, whether you use a plan off the internet or get a coach. If you do the training, you can complete the race, but the race itself, anything can happen. Then, I was talking to a pro one time, and he's like, you never have a perfect race. There's always something. He's like, and it's just kind of how you adapt to it, or what you change your plan to. There's a famous Mike Tyson quote: everybody's got a game plan until they get punched in the mouth. Right. So I mean, psychology is a big aspect of what we do.
That's right. I mean, it reminded me of that quote. So like we would do these Augustus training camps, and we were known for them on my coaching firm at Tri-Coach Georgia. They all 200, 300 people show up on these banquets, and every year I got to do the final speech at the end of all. So there's talks at the banquet part. So like Friday they come in, there's they do the bike course, and then Saturday they swim early, and then they'll run, and then they'll come to dinner, and they'll have a set of speeches, and I'm the last speech, and I tell them just like kind of what you said. I said it's 90% triathlon is 90% what I say, what do you say, psychological or mental?
Yeah, mental.
And then I say 50% physical.
Yeah. Okay.
And then they look at me like, you're not that bright a guy.
Math doesn't check out.
Yeah. But I get them worried, I get them all worked up because it's a few months out, and I tell them, like I'll get questions like, should we train at 2 o'clock in the afternoon in the heat? And I said, well, would you be running in the afternoon in the heat at Augusta at the 70.3? and so
It's
that
like
a lot of
95
things.
degrees. Of course you will be.
Right. And so like it's tough for them to hear the reality that's going to smack them in the face pretty soon, but it's better to get exposed to that, knowledge base as well as, the actual conditions, because training in Augusta in the summer is no fun. Atlanta, anywhere down southeast, it's just awful, isn't it?
If you can do it, then you can race anywhere. That's what I
That's
feel.
it.
Like if you could do it here, then you can do it anywhere.
That's it. So yeah, that's one of the things that that triggered me thinking back to that little quote of 90-50. But yeah, I tell him it's no joke. This is for real. It gets real quiet when I start talking serious like that, and you feel this little. Everybody gets the hairs on the back of their neck, and they're all getting all chicken skin, and I say, this ain't pussy, man. This is Iron Man. And then of course Brian, my partner, gets some complaints from all the prudes in the crowd, but a lot of people over the years have thanked me for cutting to the chase and making it serious, because it is a real deal, man. And you and I know that it's not easy. This whole, all the preparation and the racing is hard as hell.
Yeah. If there's any one lesson to take home from that, though, is to enjoy the ride.
Yeah, I like that. One of my athletes, she told me a long time ago, she first one took the Kona, Sandy, she said, the first goal for any race is finish. The second goal is have fun. And then the third goal of the race is to do the best you can on the day with your fitness, and all that, and all the course and the conditions and stuff. But finishing and having fun, I think, are undersold. So props to you for bringing that up.
Well, yeah, I did 3 Ironmans, right? The first one I got DQ'd because I got sent off course.
Oh, boo.
Yeah. The second one, the swim got canceled. Actually, I think you were actually there. It was 2016 Ironman Maryland.
Oh,
Okay. So the third one, it's like, okay, win, lose, or draw. This is going to be the last one, right? And it wasn't going the best that day. I had the nagging IT band injury.
oh,
So,
painful.
and I'm biking through it, and it's like my leg is killing me. But I'm like, I'm on the Chattanooga bike course, and I'm just, I turn my head a little bit, not the most aerodynamic, and then you see the mountains. You're going parallel to the mountains, the greens, the cows. It's like, it's kind of
Yeah, hog
peaceful.
jow.
It's yeah, it's peaceful. It's like I like this, And then you get to the run course. It's funny, right? Because on the swim course, it's straight down river, and I'm overlooking. You're overlooking this big stone mountain bluff, right? And on top of there is a bed and breakfast that a month later I had been planning my proposal for. I'm slow motion, and obviously very slow motion because during the swim. I'm thinking about, okay, what's this view going to be like looking down? I'm thinking to myself, just walking through the motions, enjoying it, because I'm trying to figure out what that whole weekend that I'm planning to propose is going to be like while I'm racing. So I'm doing 2 birds with 1 stone, right? And then when we get to the run course, it's like a huge party. It's like probably the best city to do a race in, better than Kona. It has to be. Everybody gets
Yeah,
into it there, right?
yeah,
It's fun.
totally.
You've got the guy in North Chattanooga. You're going up Barton Hill, and the guy's
Oh
got his
yeah,
flat screen TV screaming at it because the Bills suck.
yeah,
It's like it's an experience. Like, yeah, you know what? It wasn't my best day. I could probably go at least 2 hours faster, but it was fun. And I planned
yeah.
out a whole proposal while I did it, right?
Right, you were multitasking, and
Yeah.
you made you got to find these things to think about, because it
A
hurts. It
long
hurts like
day.
hell, man.
It's a long day too. You got to occupy yourself a little bit. That's the big part about the mental. When you're doing an Ironman, this isn't like a 5K where 20 minutes or so when you're done. You don't have to think much. You got to
Right,
occupy your brain.
right, man. You can write your whole life story while you're out on those things. In fact, we do. One Another thing I put in there is don't make any friends. I'm always putting that in my race plan. If you make any friends, I'm gonna kick you in the nuts afterwards. Because that just prolongs the agony. Everybody makes too many damn friends on the course.
Yeah. Well, the thing that I like to do is I've always like been a writer, you know, not professionally, but creatively, especially with race support stuff like that. But I also do a lot of short stories and you know stuff that I could just come up with at the top of my head. Whenever I go into an Ironman, I think of one, two, maybe three things that I would like to tell a story about. And well, you know, when you're spending 5 or 6 hours on a bike, I start writing the story in my brain, and you know, by the end of the race, I can tell you a story that I wrote, just to
That's
occupy
good.
myself during that time.
Yeah, man. You're like you're you're doing well. You're using your time well, man. I'm just thinking, I keep talking to my taint and I say, stop, stop hurting, breathe, breathe. Because I'm usually in so much pain on my damn nat.
Yeah, I get
But
no, I get you. Like thinking of a story to write kind of blocks all that out. It kind of transports me
that's
from
it.
out of the pain into a new place. So
That's good, man. You even had to put you to work, man.
yeah, yeah.
You need you need
So
like a dictaphone too, to because I know it's hard to remember all this stuff. It's like dreams,
especially
you
with a
know.
brain injury, right?
I know. You can't be writing nothing either while you're riding that bike.
No, but that's what I will do it when I'm on the trainer. I'll have my phone. And I'll start writing on my Google
Yeah.
Docs. I'll start writing stories and stuff. But
Yeah, I mean that's a good idea because you're being productive and man, it is nice to read and to write. I love that stuff. It's just that's been one of the good things really is getting back into with this COVID everything. It's been not as much traveling and more time to to buckle down and do things that you left out for a few years.
yeah,
So that's been it's nice, man. I'm glad to hear that you're writing and that is a massive story of overcoming hurdles and obstacles that you got there and to do Ironmans and it's
yeah,
life ain't easy, man.
yeah.
Nobody said
It's definitely been a ride, but you know, I don't think I changed anything. You know.
nah, and you got this nice podcast going and you got good friends that have come from I'm sure these talks have been really interesting and you get a lot of good feedback and positive
Well,
reinforcement for it.
you know, from the psychology aspect of things, that for people with brain injuries, one of the things my neurologist is, you know, you have to get out there and socialize. And she said, you know, now that, you know, we're pretty much on lockdown and you've lost all your options, you got to do something. Well, this is what I've done to do that. And she's like, this is going to really help you in your recovery. And so I'm like talking to different people that I find genuinely interesting and have that, you know, create stimulating conversation, make my brain start to function again. Not, I don't like it. If I was just having mindless conversation with my friend over stupid shit like, I don't know, Cobra Kai on Netflix and stuff, it's not stimulating. But stuff that I think people like you are genuinely interesting, it starts building those neural pathways again and making my brain start to function. Or at least if I can't repair what's damaged, I can create new pathways and fine tune my brain that way. So this is one of those things that's helped me through that over the past 2 years.
I think that's bloody good. And I don't think it's just for people that have brain injuries. I think it's for people that are aging. And I think we're all, I guess we all got expiration dates, but the quality of life improves when you get out of your comfort zone and when you try challenging things and you do things that are a little uncomfortable and a little bit out of the norm. So, massive props for what you've done. And it's just nice to see it. I want you to know that we're all excited and proud to hear that you're fighting through it, man.
Well, if you don't do anything new, then you never grow. And you know, speaking of growing, this is actually a good segue for this, but Tri-Coach Georgia seems to be growing every time I look at your website. You've got more coaches. It's just
Yeah.
you branching off into other states yet now too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, just trying to keep that thing stable through the COVID period was hard because everybody we lost the sport lost a lot of people. They said, all right, well, I'm gonna go on to other things. I'm gonna lift weights in the house, or I'm gonna do yoga or whatever. Some people do all of it, but yeah, we lost the sports, lost a lot of people competing. So I was trying to keep the group together, the culture together. I mean, I've had periods where I would say we were peaking, and I would say right now we're more on the stability side. We've tried to maintain. We've had about 200 people on the team for a while. We've got all throughout the country. I mean, I've got athletes in France and England. I got one. We have a coach in Australia that he coaches professionals, and so we're just, we're just trying to tread water really, because the sport took a beating with all COVID and social distancing and everything. So that's why last year was so exciting when the races started coming back. That Jim Rainey, who got some of the local things going. I went to some of those first races back, man. And I mean, it was the weirdest thing seeing people racing with masks and rubber gloves on and different things. Because in the first races back, people were still like mega paranoid and afraid to end up in the hospital back in the summer of 21. And so, it's just been great to see us, the resilience of humans and of triathletes and runners, and it's, seems to be coming back relatively well. I notice I don't know if I say it right, is it Omicron or Omnicron? That's threatening different things, but there still seems to be a indomitable spirit that's just, that's bringing these races back and keeping things alive. And that's my main thing, is keeping I mean, Tri-Coast Georgia has become a culture, a family for a lot of people, for, their extended family, maybe is a better way of putting it. Because they've been together for 10 years, 12 years now, and through ups and downs and through this pandemic and the longer you're with people, like you just said, there's been divorces, there's been,
Kids,
deaths and stuff,
graduations.
kids. I mean, one year I thought we were the most fertile team in the round because we were having kids all the time. And the next year I thought we were like the most close to a funeral home because people were dying off. And it's just, but that's the nature of the ball game, humanity. There's great things and bad things that happen to us.
So the last thing I wanted to ask you is, how do you know the fight doctress, Andrea?
Oh, have you been with her yet?
I forget how we, honestly, it's one of those things where my memory's hazy about how we met, but we regularly.
Has she been on the show yet? Has she been on your podcast?
Yes, last year.
I need to go review that. Andrea is one of my really good friends for a long time. I'm gonna say 15 years ago, maybe longer. She had me in. She was practicing. She still does practice in a small town in Georgia called Monroe, and she asked me to come in and help her out because there was so many. There wasn't any psychologists around, and she said all my patients need help, and she said, could you come one day a week or one day every 2 weeks or something to Monroe, and I'll give you a place to stay in my little practice, and we'll get to hang out. So, a friendship formed, and I was going for a long time, but then COVID hit, and man, she was like she was on the front end of COVID. So she was one of the first people to get the tests and the vaccines and everything. She's really on top of that stuff. And so I wanted to get out of that office.
She does not look her age. She looks a lot younger than she is. When I saw on Instagram, she's like 49. I'm like, whoa, really?
Yeah, she's tough I mean, her former husband, he had CTE and he committed suicide but he was an MMA fighter kind of thing, and it's just an interest. She's another person that's had to overcome a lot, but she's a hell of a doctor. She wins the award every year for the best doctor around, and she's just top-notch person. And I hate that she's had to go through things, but I think she's in a really good spot now. And but I don't go to her office until this thing is gone, man, because these people are coming in sick, in and out, and I don't want to catch it. So I stay at my own little place.
Yeah. Why do you work for UGA? Is that why you're in Athens, or is that just kind of what you wanted to be home?
My wife she went to the vet school, and so we came to Athens, and we've stayed ever since. That was 19. She was a class of 2002, so we moved up here in 98, and we stayed here ever since. But I don't work for UGA, but I do a lot of evaluations of people for UGA. And a lot of the athletes that you saw in the sports and stuff like that, I get to make sure they get the help they need at the university, because they come in with learning disabilities, or some have you know, ADHD or depression or anxiety or something that interferes with learning. So they'll send them over to me when they get to school, and they say, you know, give them an evaluation and tell us what we need to do. I don't know. There may be some SEC guidelines that say you can't have a UGA psychologist do it. But, you know, because I'm private practice, but they send them to me. I guess they've trusted me for a long time with a lot of those, with a lot of their people.
Yeah, I mean that's definitely pretty cool.
Yeah.
You know, it's especially since they've finally won a national championship.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. Tomorrow's going to be nuts, man. They're going to be hanging around from all, I mean, they're all pouring in like it's a football game this weekend. We were just outside. The cars are all over with flags, and it's just going to be nuts tomorrow. But we're going to go downtown and we're going to go cheer them on a little bit. And we got some tickets to that. I mean, it's just going to be nuts.
I hate you. I went to Georgia Tech for my master's.
That's awesome. My daughter's at Georgia. I got one at Georgia, one at Georgia State in Atlanta. So she lives right downtown at that in the dorms right there. So that's it. I know how it goes, man.
Yeah, you know, I guess the hardest part about having my master's at Georgia Tech is it's in architecture. So I'm in a creative profession, and you know, one of the hardest things to deal with is like I went through a top 10 school in the country for it, and it was one of the hardest things I had to grapple with is, oh wow, I put in all this work and in a really accomplished school, and I'm never going to be able to use it again. That was one of those things that I had to really adapt to.
Yeah, like so that is like an area that you're like disabled in.
Yeah, my processing speed is it's too slow to work in an office. You know, architecture is a deadline-driven profession, and
Wow.
I can't keep up with that speed. Nobody's going to want to pay me to work at the speed that I can. They can get an intern fresh out of school to do it. So, you know, that it kind of put the kibosh on my career. So
Oh, man.
for a while, I took down my degrees from Georgia Tech and Kent State because I didn't want to look at it because it made me feel bad about myself whenever I saw it.
Yeah.
I put them back up because I've kind of come to terms with it. You know, there was an Instagram story that I saw a while back. I still go to therapy to help me work through a lot of my issues, and I'm not really
Yeah.
afraid to talk about that. But I pull up a couple of these stories and I played them for my therapist. That said, you know, these three things here, it kind of made me had a lot of introspection, and the one of them was about a person who says it is what it is being one of the most dangerous people out there. It's that they've reached a level of acceptance that most people can't. If you hear somebody who says it is what it is, then they've been able to come to terms with pretty much anything. And it's like, then you'll be talking to them and eventually they'll say it is what it is. They've reached that ability to accept a lot of bullshit in their life. And I found myself like, I didn't realize how much I say that now. I said, then I hung my degrees back up. Like, it is what it is. So, I mean, I'm proud of what I did.
Man.
I can't use it
Yeah.
anymore. So,
I mean, I give you a hell of a lot of credit, and I think therapy, the people that go to therapy are a lot stronger than the people that don't go to therapy, because you know, it takes strength and courage to admit that you got some issues to work on. Most people want to deny it and minimize it and blame someone else for it. So, you know, pat on the back for doing that. I believe in it. I go, and I see people weekly, and I just think it's just important. You know, if you don't take care of your own self, you're never going to be able to help others.
yeah.
So,
There was an Instagram story that I saw, or reel, said three hardest things for a person to say is, I'm sorry, I need help, and Worcestershire sauce. And I can actually say that.
well, actually, now remember, my wife, I don't know if I told you this, but she's British, and she would say that is not how to say what you
Really?
just said. It's Worcestershire. It's Worcestershire sauce.
Oh,
She would give it to me. She'd give me hell because she'd say that's not how you say it. But you're
we don't
right.
have
I
to
mean,
show her this.
I'm all about humility, and I mean, I'd love to take ownership where I mess up, and I hate to be wrong, and I hate to hurt others. It happens in my life. I seem to also, you know, I get my feelings hurt myself a little too easy. But you know, on the whole, I think you're absolutely right. The more humility, the more we can accept our flaws, the more we can apologize when we're wrong. Um, it just makes for a better humanity, a better relationships with others, and You know,
Empathy.
and recognizing like in a relationship that fails, that maybe it was a bad time and it wasn't a bad person, you know, like maybe just weren't suited at that particular time, you
That's a
know. And
good point. That's a good point. I've never really thought of that one.
I mean, I feel like timing is a huge thing for people, and there is a lot of sacrifice, and not a lot of people like sacrificing. But damn, this is good of you to bring me on here. I like talking and thinking and all this stuff.
Yeah, man. I didn't want to keep you much longer, but thanks for joining me. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Yeah, and like I said, if you ever want to SlayRX, just let me know. We'll get you tested before your event, and we'll loan you up with a lot of products. And I wish you continued success with this whole podcast. And I'm gonna throw it out in our social media wherever I can and get you some more followers.
That sounds fantastic. Thanks again, Slayer.
All right, my man. Go Espo.
Enjoy your weekend.
All right, my man. Catch you later. Thanks again.
Mm-hmm. Bye.